Thank you, Olivia. So before we begin, I would like to extend a very special thank you to our guest and community partner, Dawn Nargi. She is co-founder of W Connection. So Dawn, thank you for being here. We can't wait to hear you share some of what finding W Connection and your story and what you have to share with us today. So delighted that you can be with us. I also want to thank our other community leaders and volunteers who are with us today. Formally, Lori Rich with Widow University. Kim Murray, I think, has joined us with Widow 411. Stephanie Evans with Widowed Parent Relief Project. And Jessica Davis with Hope for Widows Foundation. So thank you, ladies. And I also want to, well, you met her earlier, introduce Olivia Oster with Wings for Widows. Olivia is our giving and operations manager. And Coffee and Connect was her idea. So we are thankful for her leadership and putting this all together for us. Finally, Coffee and Connect is made possible through the generous funding from the Catholic Community Foundation of Minnesota. A big shout out to them. Now, some of you may be wondering why Wings for Widows is hosting these Coffee and Connect gatherings. After all, we're known for providing financial coaching and education, not community coffee chats. But as we continue walking with people through the early days and months of widowhood, we realize something powerful. Information alone isn't enough. What people often need most is connection, real connection, with others who understand your path. So we created Coffee and Connect to introduce you to organizations like the W Connection and their fantastic resources and the caring individuals that you may not have known even existed. We want you to know they exist and what kind of resources are out there for you, because you're not alone, even if it feels that way sometimes. We want you to know just how much support is available to you. So each month we bring you a new resource to help you in your journey. So if this is your first time with us, a quick word about Wings for Widows. We're a nonprofit based right here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota. We have a national reach. We provide services in 49 of the 50 states so far. Our mission is to support widowed individuals, especially in the early days, weeks and months of widowhood, with one-on-one financial coaching, education, and the resources to help bring clarity and peace of mind during an incredibly confusing and painful time. As you know, or will find out, there are hundreds of administrative, financial, and legal tasks to work through after the loss of a spouse. Research indicates that families require up to 500 hours and more than $12,000 simply to settle a spouse's estate. Well, Wings for Widows helps reduce that time and cost with personalized coaching. So check us out at www.wingsforwidows.org. But above all, we're here to walk alongside you as you navigate the administrative and practical matters of life after loss. We strive to ensure you have access to all the resources that you need to support you during this time. So today's program will last, again, as Olivia said, about 90 minutes. After my comments, I'll introduce our speaker, and after her presentation, we're going to move into, I think it's 5 breakout rooms for what we call connection sessions. These are informal, welcoming spaces to share, listen, or simply be present with others who get it. These are not therapy sessions, but they can be powerful therapy, which is why we expanded the time from 30 minutes to at least 50 minutes. And sometimes just being with others who understand makes all the difference in the world. I want to thank our Getaway for Good vacation sponsor, WidowWise. You've probably never heard of WidowWise. Their mission is to create and distribute educational content to the widowed community, like WidowWise University and WidowWise, the WidowWise newsletter. Widower Support Network, which is a widowers only support organization, is also a WidowWise product. So they are focused on providing fantastic resources for you. Now, as you probably know, one lucky winner is going to win this vacation just for attending Coffee and Connect. It's a bonus, right? it's a pretty big bonus. But we wanted to give you a little thrill in October. So you receive one electronic raffle ticket for each Coffee and Connect event you attend. So if you've been attending since, when did we kick this off? In June? Um, you've gotten a ticket in June and July, and now you're getting one in August. You'll get one in September if you attend, and then again in October. So the winner will be announced during our final Coffee and Connect in October. You do not need to be present to win, but why would you miss it if it improves your chances of winning? The October Coffee and Connect is going to be a very exciting event. So until then, again, you can join us next month to learn about a new resource and to connect with your peers, even if it's just for a short while. So I think the slide tells it all. Pretty exciting stuff, sponsored by WidowWise. So now I get the pleasure of introducing Don Nargi, and I'm delighted to introduce someone that I really admire. I've gotten to know Don over the last, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4, maybe 4 or 5 years. The W Connection was founded in 2009 by Don and by Ellen Camp, two widows who discovered there were no organized communities in 2009 dedicated to providing help for widows rebuilding their lives after loss. These two women, newly widowed women, found each other at their workplace, and the rest is history. So Dawn is currently the executive director of W Connection. So without further ado, I want to introduce my good friend and soon to be yours, Don Nargi. Don?
Right.
You should be able to share your slides with no problem at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take it down for, let's take it down for a second. So, and then I'll share my screen.
Okay.
So my name is Dawn Nargi. I'm the executive director and co-founder of the W Connection. I want to thank Chris and Olivia for bringing this to everybody here. Really so great the work you're doing, kind of joining forces of all these widow and widower groups to help everyone out there to get the word out. So I know that everybody wants to get into the breakout room. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk a little bit about me, my story, so you know who I am, a little bit about the W Connection and how to find us. I just saw that note, but they'll answer the chat if they need to. So who am I? So let's see. I'll start my story, maybe not the long story, but in 2007, you know, my husband and I were just married. We were able to buy an apartment in New York City that we didn't think we would be able to do. It was a 2-bedroom. Why not try and get pregnant? We did very quickly. My son, William, was born 2 months premature. He stayed in neonatal intensive care for 1 month. And when we came out, my husband, who I thought was having sympathy pains, was still having them. I sent him to the doctor, told him I really needed him to help me with this baby, sent him to the doctor to get better. The doctors told us it was cancer. They told us that he would live 15 years. He died 2 months later when my son William was just 3 months old. Now, all the stories are tragic. You know, I've been doing this for 17 years with the W Connection, and all the stories that I hear are tragic. So I want to tell you a little bit of the continuation of that story. I started my bereavement work at Gilda's Club. So that was Gilda Radner. They did cancer care. We were in the back doing bereavement work. And for about 6 months, I think I used the term, I vomited out the grief. You know, I was on maternity leave when my husband was diagnosed. I was on maternity leave when my husband died. I went back to work and I tried to really work in this world of investment banking while I was widowed, while I was caring for a baby, while I was caring for a dog. And every Monday I would go to Gilda's Club and I would just cry through the whole thing. And then in about 6 months, they said, "Hey, you're good. You've graduated." And I went, "What?" You know, my husband and I didn't have any life insurance. I had a new baby. I had a new mortgage. I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for that. I wasn't sure how I was going to work my demanding job. I wasn't sure how I was going to care for my baby. I wasn't even sure how I was going to get my dog out every night with a child. And I had a mentor at Morgan Stanley where I worked. Her name was Ellen Camp. Ellen Camp's husband coincidentally died a year before my husband. And she and I realized there was this power in this widow to widow connection. And we started to see if we could bring this widow to widow connection, widow to widow or widower to widower connection, that connection of loss of a partner, right? So we went forward. We started the W Connection here in this living room, different couch, but same living room. And we quickly grew. Our first meeting. Let me share my screen now so that you're not just looking at my head and you are also looking. So this is our homepage. You get to it by either wconnection.org or widowsconnection.org. I think as long as you type in the W Connection, you'll find us. We built this on 4 pillars. So the reason why I want to come here is I want you to see, on the website what we do. I have a slide as well, but I wanted to start here. So there are 4 pillars in the W Connection. Get connected, that power of the widow to widow connection. Now, Ellen and I have always said that if there was a widower who stepped up to run one of our meetings, we would gladly do it. And it happened for a little bit. We had a widower group as well. And we'd love to have another widower group. So the first thing is about getting connected to other people that understand. Everything that we do is created by widows and it's for widows. Get educated. I come from the world of investment banking, training technology. Ellen Camp came from the world of investment banking, learning and development. If we were going to do something, we were going to look at research. We were going to look at resources. We were going to understand this. So everything that we do, all of the topics that we bring to you in these peer-led topic meetings, I know it's a lot, so I'm going to tell you about these things in a couple of different ways. We do through research and understanding. And every month, these topics are revised and reviewed. We also bring you experts in the field. Like I hope Chris is going to come speak for us at one of our meetings, talking about, using his expertise in finance for the W Connection. So these get educated resources come to you in different ways. Get encouraged. Hey, that's me. Really, there is nothing like being with somebody who gets it. I always smile at the fact that we'll have these events where we're doing something outdoors. Usually we're in a room, we're doing really serious topics and serious conversations, but sometimes we're just out. This was a biking trip that we did. And I remember somebody stopped us because a couple of them were wearing our W Connection t-shirts. And they're like, oh my God, what group is this? What biking group is this? You guys are having so much fun. How do I join? And we're like, well, it's a widow support group. So really, I am so connected with these women, and these are real smiles right over the GW, George Washington Bridge, and get empowered. So this is what I actually absolutely love. What I'm going to explain this is a different way. I'm going to bring up a PowerPoint. When we look at the W Connection, my mountaintop idea is that everybody grows through this, through their grief, right? When I was first widowed, an interviewer asked me once, they said, before your husband died, did you think anybody died? Then I go, no, absolutely not. My mother was alive. My father was alive. My grandparents were alive. I was just like, I had no idea that this can happen, right? So it is my hope that from that devastating loss, that you are empowered and that you move forward, right? It is my mountaintop idea. It is my hope for everyone who joins my community. So the way I show this is this pictorial representation. This is one of my members, and this is when she first comes to the W Connection. Members find their first slivers of hope inside our meetings room. And if you look at the photo, it's like she's there and she's amongst these flowers, but she's only seeing them in black and white. She starts going to the meetings, and we start moving forward on this journey. And these are our next step in the programs. We have different programs for each step in that journey. So if you look here, these are our peer-led topic meetings. We move forward in the journey. W chat. This is when the fog of widowhood begins to lift and the color returns. Starting to identify yourself as more than a widow. Who am I? What do I need to feel joy? What do I need to be happy? And then finally, rediscovering hope, finding purpose, joy, living in full color. This one is, I remember I've spoken to a couple of widows, even, somebody who sits on my board now. And I was like, Pat, I said, my hope for everybody to find joy. And she said, Dawn, I don't know if I ever will get to joy. And I'm okay with that. She goes, I'm moving forward, but I'm okay with not finding joy. I kind of thought about it a little bit. I said, okay, all right, that's your journey. We had an event in Washington that Pat came and she did a lot of work on it. And I looked across from a table that I was sitting at and I saw her smiling from ear to ear. I ran over and I looked at her. I go, Pat, joy? She goes, yeah. And I said, okay, tomorrow, tell me why. And the next day we had this great conversation about her doing this trip for herself, being able to give back to the women in this organization. Pat was in there as a kind of leader and volunteer role. And really, this GEM program is what you start to see is the new widows coming in are helped by the widows that are further along. And I don't expect everybody to do it. If your thing is I want to give back in the world of dogs, great, wonderful. But in this giving back, this is where I know for me with the W Connection, I have found purpose. I have found joy. Somebody said to me once, what is the worst thing, again, another interview, what is the worst thing that happened to you? And I said, my husband dying. And she said, and I don't want to say that she said it was the best, but she said, what is the thing that changed you? And I went, oh, my husband dying. So, I'll always be sad that my husband had died, but I'll always be proud of the person that I became after it. I'm going to share my screen again. The other thing that I want to show you is I want to go back to our homepage. Whoops, I got to move everybody because I can't get to my homepage. Okay, and I want to go to our member benefits program because this gets, in some ways I say the W Connection has too much stuff these days. I think with the pandemic, we really started, because we grew both nationally and internationally, we were able to bring more programs and services. So what I've recently done is I've broken up those programs and services into 2 tracks, right? W supports. This is really our research-based programs and services, right? The peer-led topic meetings, our weekly meetings with themes every month, and these are research-based themes. W chat, we talked about that journey of a member. So when you're moving away from starting to let that light in, let's say, you move to W chat. Webinars or workshops, these are done by experts in the field, and these could be, and they're also hosted by women. So if somebody is a yoga instructor and she's one of my members, and at some point she goes, you know what, Dawn, I'm ready to do a yoga workshop for everybody, I'm like, great, that's wonderful. And here's W Clubs are our in-person support, and they kind of combine what we do amongst the journey. W Connects is really interesting. These are all member driven. So a member came up to me and said, you know what, Dawn, we have a dining club locally, but I want to do a virtual dining club. Me, uh, Lori and Lisa came up, and Jane and Nana and Trace came up with this idea. I said, wonderful. Just let me know what it is. Let's make sure it's about moving forward. There's certain components that I want it to be, right? It has to be about moving forward. And they created this share meal, and we had a pilot June, July, and August. And it was absolutely wonderful. I think we actually have one in September as well. So these are all member driven. Step outs are things where, like I said, that bike trip over the George Washington Bridge, they said, hey, we want to do this bike trip. Are you for it? I said, absolutely. And we did this bike trip over the George Washington Bridge. What else do I want to tell you about the W Connection? We do research. So we are an organization that one of my board members is doing research on the physical effects, the effect of widowhood on a woman's physical health. She has determined that there is a connection, and now she's doing a research project with doctors trying to figure out how they understand what they understand about widows, making sure that there is care for widows even within the medical community. The other thing I just want to show you real quick, because this is something new for us, what we did is we've launched a project called Last Laughs, and this is a product that helps with end of life planning. So what I realized in my widowhood is that I was overwhelmingly sad, but I also realized financially I was a mess, right? I didn't know Wings for Widows existed at that point, but financially I had to figure out how I was going to stay in my home. I was parenting on my own. Physically, there was not a shot I was going to start to take care of myself. So my physical health was starting to decline. Of course, my mental health, and all of these risks and losses that come together, aside from the widow dealing with this overwhelming grief. This game that you play with family is really to start those conversations going. Kind of a fun way to say, hey, we know that it's important to talk about whether your husband, for me, the doctors asked me about a DNR, and I said to the doctors, you know what, I know he wanted me to sign a do not resuscitate, and I said, I can't do it. So all of these things were not ready for us, and it impacted my ability to grieve and move forward. So that's Last Laugh. So the last thing I want to show you is, if you said, Dawn, how do you join? Oh, wait, whoops, one more thing. Let me just go in. So this is our member portal. You know what, actually, let me do it here. Let's go here. So if we go to find a meeting, because you guys won't be able to get to our member portal. Our member portal is for members. So let me show you it here. I have a sneak spot where my calendar is. Doesn't look like it, but these are all our offerings, right? So the peer-led topic meetings that we talked about, WChat that we talked about, and usually I just do the meetings 1 month in advance. All of these meetings are included in a membership. We are a membership-based organization. Why? Because we learned that when that person makes that commitment, they're invested in moving forward. So in order to join, I'll show you that in a minute, but once you do join, you will be able to join any of these meetings. Our webinars are both for members for free, and there is a public registration too. So these are the only things that you could get into as a non-member. This one is actually for widows and widowers, anyone who dealing, quite honestly, this one is for anybody. And there is a $25 suggested donation as a non-member. So for members, anybody can do it, but for non-members, this is the only one that you can get in for free. I mean, get into it all. So what do? We have different types of, we have one membership, but different fee structures. Just so you realize what these numbers look like, the cost us about $500 a year for each member to go through our programs and services. That's not what we ever wanted to charge. So what we do is we say, hey, we are going to give you everything. You're going to decide what you want to pay. So if you want to join, you can do that through this, through just going to my website and doing join. I think that's everything. I wanted to keep it relatively short. I've been known to speak very long, so I'm going to stop my share to see if anybody has any questions, but wanted to get you guys all back into the room.
Any questions for Dawn? Thank you so much.
Don, I have a question. Those numbers you showed us, are those annual
They're annual.
dues?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's actually, yes, thank you for that. It's an annual fee because some people think it's a monthly fee. No, it's absolutely an annual fee. It's very interesting. We did start with a zero membership fee, and we joined this thing called the Strategy Challenge. A corporation was actually doing it, and we were looking at our organization, and they did do some research, and they said, you're better with a fee, and we put that fee structure in place. But that is something what we realized is once we did it, it seems like people are making a commitment to their journey, and it's something that has been really beneficial for us.
And Don, folks don't have to be in New York to join you.
No, we're actually, so the furthest away is I have a I wish it in Australia, Brisbane. I have a widow in Brisbane. Actually, I have a couple of widows in Brisbane, Australia. So we were actually a national organization with this little footprint internationally. So we do the great thing about COVID. The only great thing about COVID is we went virtual. I think we shut down our in-person meetings on March 5th of 2020, and we went live virtually on March 6th. It was really easy for me to do because I'm a technologist. So we are now across the country virtually. So even if we have one widow in New Salmon, Alaska, the great thing is that she can come. I would love to have an in-person club out there, but I think there is, I think she said like there's 10 people that live there and all of them are her family. So virtually, everybody can come. And then, the members help us grow their area. So, we have a woman from Missouri who's like, you know what, I really want to create a club in Missouri. It's like, great, but you've got to help me bring in people in Missouri, right? So if we get a critical mass in any area and there's a person who wants to step up and run a club, to me, this is the way we move to joy. Sometimes people say to me, I tell everybody to call me and they're like, don't call Dawn, she'll give you a job. But to me, I know that in doing this work, I know that it all comes back, right? So yes, we are virtual, and we are across the United States, and I want to keep building these areas. So I'm actually looking at the questions. I don't know if you.
Yep.
So we have helped since inception about 10,000 women. And right now we have about 500 active members. So it's the way W Connection is successful is if that member either becomes a gem and gives back, or that member moves on, right? Like my chapter leaders will always say, I don't see Cynthia anymore. And I go, great. What we'll see is women come every month, and after about 10 months, 11 months, 12 months, 2 years, whatever it takes, they're not there at the meetings every month. And then they've moved forward. And then there's women who stay in the program and give back. I think that was one of the questions that I saw fly by.
There was another question. How much widower participation do you have currently?
Right now, I do not have a widower group. This is how it is asking me questions. I would love to have one. So, if there's somebody who wants to get in contact with me because they're ready to run a widower group, I would actually love it. The only thing I have right now for widowers is I have that webinar. So our webinars are open to everybody with a donation. And then some of our step outs have widowers. So unfortunately, I really, 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 really want more. I just need that person to step up, right? I can't run a widower group because it's not my experience. I need somebody to run a widower group, but I'm working on it. I have somebody in mind that I want to run it.
So TBD for sure on the widower group. There's one more question and then we'll move into breakout groups. What is the main difference between the way a man grieves than a woman, or are there, based on what you've seen?
It really, so my background is in technology, so I can't answer this from a research-based perspective, but I think it really depends on the man, right? I think I've seen men so I will work with men individually, right? So if I know somebody who is a widower, just as on a personal level, I will work with them. And there's men that grieve the same as a widow would, right? I'm having the same conversations. Just recently a man was telling me that he wanted to get one of his wife's bracelets fitted for him. And he went to the shop and he goes, I want to do it. And this was my wife's. He goes, and there I am. I'm starting to bawl. He goes, so of course they fix it for me, give it to me for free, and send me out of the shop. So that was the same exact conversation I would have with a woman. But then there's some men who find it hard to talk about it, right? But there's also some women. So I obviously did not answer your question. So I guess my short answer is it really depends. If there's a follow-up on that, please, reach out to me. I'm sure Olivia and Chris will get out my information.
I would also share next month, you're going to hear from the Widower Support Network, which serves men. And they have about 5,000 members and are in 44 countries. So that'll be a question that we can certainly address in more detail in September. And I also want to comment, Christine and Barry, who are doing the dating webinar that Dawn shared with you, they're the tops. They're the best in the business. They do a podcast as well weekly, and that's a great webinar. So if you have questions about dating, I highly encourage you to sign up for that webinar. And I just want to conclude with, so we can move on, is Don, it's just fantastic, the programs you have. And as you know, and most of you I hope know, is that Wings for Widows, we focus on the practical matters. And so when it comes to getting you connected, the W Connection is exactly where we refer you, because they have programs for wherever you are in your journey. And it's just a wonderful organization. So thank you for being here, for all the hard work you've done, because the programming is just fantastic, and it's hard to find that such developed programming. And so I hope you all consider becoming members, or at least using the free webinars to help you along in your journey. Is that fair to say, Don?
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you both for putting this together for everyone and for getting us all together.
Okay, so we're going to move into our connection sessions. Each room will be moderated by a compassionate guide who will gently facilitate introductions and conversations. They've got some talking prompts for you. Again, we've expanded this time, so hopefully everyone gets ample opportunity to share. Again, these sessions are not therapy, but they are a safe, supportive space where you can be heard and hear others who genuinely understand, and then we will all come back together and reconvene for a closing at the end. So I'm going to initiate those breakout rooms now.
Perfect.
Welcome back, everyone. Give everybody like a second just to pop back in here. All right. I hope your breakout sessions were meaningful this morning and that you felt heard, supported, and maybe feel even a little bit lighter. These connection spaces are powerful, and your willingness to show up, share, and listen is truly what makes them work. Before we close, does anyone have any comments about their breakout session that they wanted to share?
It was helpful to have a longer time to discuss. Thank you.
Oh, great. Good to hear.
It was very helpful to have the longer time and have conversations. That's what we needed.
Good. Yeah, we did not want to rush you, and they were feeling a little bit rushed in previous meetings. So I'm glad that was helpful. Thank you. I do want to offer a sincere thank you to our incredible connection session moderators, Kim Murray, Lori Rich, Stephanie Evans, Jessica Davis, and Don Nargi. And thank you once again to Don for being our presenter today and representing the W Connection. We appreciate you sharing your wisdom, heart, and resources with us today. We're also so grateful to our generous sponsor, WidowWise, as well as the Catholic Community Foundation of Minnesota for making this event series possible. And for sponsoring our Getaway for Good vacation raffle. So I just wanted to remind you to mark your calendars for our next Coffee and Connection session on Tuesday, September 9th, starting at 9 a.m. Central Time. And again, this will be a 90-minute session, and we'll be featuring Chris Bentley representing the Widowers Support Network. So make sure that you register. We'll be introducing this valuable organization and additional widower-specific resources designed to support our widowers in this community and empower all of you on your journey. It's another opportunity to learn, connect, and grow. So you can register on our website or grab the QR code on your screen now. So thank you so much for showing up today. That truly means something. Whether you shared a story, asked a question, or simply listened, you helped make this event better. We will be sending out a recap email that includes valuable resources from Don, our event survey, if you'd like to provide us any additional feedback about how today went, and a recap video of this morning's presentation. Not to worry, it will not include your breakout sessions. Those are private. From all of us, thank you for letting us walk alongside you. We hope to see you in September. If breakout room facilitators have a moment to hang back, that would be great. But if you have to jump off, no worries. To all of you, have a wonderful rest of your morning and hopefully see you in September. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.